So Kat Matlala's partner, Mr. Van Wyk, was absent today from the Madlanga Commission, but evidence leader Chaskalson went on to reveal shocking evidence. In this video, I'm going to show you all the drama that's happening as the commission draws to its 31 August deadline. But if you stay with me all the way till my biblical reaction, I'm going to share some very interesting information about how much we actually trust public institutions or not. But you want to come with me because I'll give you something to do, because South Africa will prosper. You ready? Press like, let's go. So let's start from Friday, where General Senona brought a heavyweight advocate who it seems to me was officially launching his Stalingrad defense.
My remit was really to place on the record certain concerns, shall we say, which have been expressed by the General, which we wanted to put up front, and so that his evidence could be seen in context, because these are issues that may arise from time to time. Those issues have been specifically instructed to put them on the record for consideration by this forum or any other forum, should it become ever relevant, and so that we're not accused of raising those issues at a particular time, maybe because there are certain adverse findings or something. These are concerns that we raise, even if they will be favorable or neutral or adverse findings.
Before some of you start going to the bottom and commenting, let me tell you something. If you're 50 years old and your lawyer tells you you really have no defense, you should be making a deal, you get your phone out, you call Advocate Dali Mpofu, because this is what he'll be doing for 30 years. He's got a strategy. It's called the work is more important than your ego. And he's very good at it. So let's hear what he's complaining about in advance, in case he has to one day be in court. He can remind them in court that he placed this on record.
The first issue, Chair, is maybe I should just say that the general heading really of all what I'm saying is concerns regarding what the General feels has been unfair treatment by the Commission. And that is on the basis that the Commission is enjoined to treat witnesses and everyone fairly. So the first of those topics then is the serial refusal by the Commission to furnish information upon request. And again, we are happy to furnish the detail and the chronology, the blow by blow of we wrote this letter, we got this nonchalant response, or no response at all, or an unreasonable response. There are many examples of that. One of those responses was something like, well, you don't have to know what other people have said about you, just say what you know, kind of thing. And it would be hard to believe that that is a policy of this commission, because, as we know, people have a right of reply. That's one of the most fundamental rights under the broad rubric of Audi Alteram Partem.
Number one, we get arrogant responses when we ask to know what's being said about us and you're not hearing the other side. Okay, it's unfair. Let's hear number two.
There are various, we understand the difference between, being called here on specific accusations and therefore being entitled to the documentation, and being asked to assist the commission and all that. We're not dealing with this at that technical level. But whichever category one falls in, they surely have a right to at the minimum, to face their accusers, to use the colloquial expression.
Okay, so we need a right to face our accusers. Let's hear number 3.
Which is the feeling of the general and us that the issues that he has been asked to deal with have actually been dealt with in his first appearance here. We might be wrong about this, but we, on our unscientific analysis, he's probably been the witness who has been called back more than anyone else to come back here, despite the fact that he testified for 3 days in January. And
there's a witness that testified for 8 days, Mr.
Yes.
The days may have been consecutive, I'm not sure, but it was still 8 days,
were.
so far more than the general is.
No, Chair, I don't want to be nitpicking. No, ours is not about the number of days so much than the toing and froing and being called and then called back and then called back. But I take your point, Chair.
Okay, number 3 is you keep calling us back. There's a number 4 or 3B.
Mr. Mpofu, can you just repeat the 4th point?
The 4th point. The fourth point is I was saying I'm merging it with the 3rd point. That was about repetitive questions. You would appreciate commissioners, chairperson and commissioners, that every time he has to come here, or every time he has to deal with a subpoena or a set, and then there's even an instance where the subpoena was literally exactly the same as the one that had been given last year. And then we pointed that out, and there was duly an apology. Well, maybe I'm putting it too strongly, but the commission said, no, sorry, that was a mistake. Here's the correct one. Yeah. But that mistake means that he has now to consult on that wrong document. And when it's discovered that it's the wrong document, a letter has to be written, and then the apology, which we accept, is issued. But that doesn't change the discomfort or inconvenience. And that's just one example. And therefore, it's a very costly exercise. I haven't done the count, but my learned friend, Ms. Talk, assures me that the general has had to be doing this toing and froing about 6 times now, or that this is his 6th appearance. And I'm sure that also includes the times when he didn't actually testify. And I know it also includes the time when the legal representative was not feeling well. So I'm not piling all of that onto the commission. I'm simply saying that it's quite an expensive.
Okay, so basically saying I'm throwing a whole bunch of stuff at you because at some point one of them will stick. So let's go to complaint number 5.
Our understanding, Chairperson, is that this commission is not some surrogate disciplinary committee of the police, where we have to interrogate whether this one or that one is a good policeman or a bad policewoman, or in the general sense, in the HR sense of the word. But those issues might be relevant, of course, to the core mandate of the commission, which is criminality, interference, and all that is defined in the terms of reference. That we concede. But surely there's a line between that sometimes inevitable overlap and actually focusing as if this is a beauty parade about who's the better manager or a kind of performance assessment. So that's the issue. To the extent that the performance or lack of performance might be relevant, and maybe I should interpose, almost arguing against myself, but by saying we accept implicitly that, let's take this issue about this theft. The commission is entitled, of course, to say We have to probe whether this theft was a matter of sheer incompetence or criminality. That we accept. But there's a difference between that, as I say, inevitable overlap, and then simply going on for days with a witness like the general about, why did you not follow this prescript or that prescript? Well, he didn't, but is that relevant to the terms of reference, or might that show that he could have been a better manager? So it's that kind of it's not a bright line, but that we accept.
Okay, so that's his fifth one. Listen, this is not an HR matter and you're kind of doing the right thing, but we're kind of complaining that you're doing the wrong thing. But there's a line and we won't tell you what the line is, but surely there is a line. I may need to find it later. So, Advocate Silo thinks, I need to answer this.
The first complaint is a serial refusal to produce documents. I would like to place on record that the general, even in his statement, does not make such an allegation. There is not a single document that the evidence leaders have been required to produce and have failed to produce. To the extent that there might be oversight on my part personally on that, I would be happy to be directed there too, and I'll try and establish why that is the case. These issues were specifically dealt with when my learned friend, Ms. Talk, addressed the Commission. And it was highlighted that precisely those documents were provided on the basis of a request from General Senona. The request came in that week, and by the 29th, the documents were provided. So it becomes challenging for me to appreciate exactly which documents we are said to have refused to produce on a serial basis. And commissioners, I dare say that there is none. Secondly, and once again, General Senona will address these issues. I do know that Mr. Mpofu says they appreciate the distinction between what we would term a Rule 3.5 notice and a Regulation 10.6. His complaints stem largely from a view that we have failed to serve him with a Rule 3.5 notices. And these are notices that we issue based on testimony that is received and evidenced by the Commission, on the basis of which we conclude that it would appear somebody is implicated. The witnesses he references, in our understanding, and I do accept that our understanding may very well have been wrong, have not implicated General Senona. Those witnesses have testified to what they know about the facts that they were called upon to testify on. So technically, it would sound like, and again, I'm subject to correction, that there is an invitation that we issue Rule 3.5 notices, because each time General Senona's name is mentioned by the witnesses who have appeared before you, that constitutes implication. Not in our view, not in the manner that that term is dealt with in the rules. Once a witness is implicated, we are under obligation to issue a Rule 3.5 to bring that to their attention and to afford that person the opportunity to deal with the implication. We have found none, and no Rule 3.5 notices have been issued.
So she says, what do you mean you need an opportunity to face your accusers? We didn't know you were accused of anything, Senona that is. And there's no document that you asked us for that we didn't give you. So he then comes back. What does he do? He throws more confusion at it, and as much as possible to be on the record, because we may need it later.
I see Mr. Mpofu vigorously shaking his head, so I take it that he means I completely misunderstood him. I'll take that the misunderstanding is mine. But I just wanted to clarify that precisely what the prescripts provide for and the extent to which they were complied is a legitimate conversation to have with the General, and that has not to date been had. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, well, it looks like my learned friend, there's a lot of things that she says she doesn't understand, or she's at a loss at sea or whatever. I'll try my best to assist. Chairperson, we are not, this is not some quibbling about technicalities. We understand very well the difference between 10.6 and 3.5, as I was at pains to point out in my address. But you know, those are just lawyers' things.
So the rest of his thing was like this, like, don't come up with lawyers' things. It's just I have some lawyer thing problem. But those ones are just lawyers' things. So then Senona went on with his testimony, and doubt is set up in a huge way for the future, and I guess a lawyer must do the best for their client. In a future video, we'll get into the full ambit of accusations against Senona. But now today, Matlala's partner was supposed to show up at the commission, and instead, this is what the commissioners heard.
Yesterday, when consulting with Mr. Van Wyk, he suffered yet again from severe panic attacks. Now, earlier this week, he saw a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Arnold Lawrence. So Dr. Lawrence consulted with him, and subsequently they too as well placed him on medication, which he had to change, and he did change in terms of his letter as well. And he yesterday, when I finally spoke to the psychiatrist, Dr. Lawrence, he said to me the patient needs to be admitted to the psychiatric unit at Jacaranda Hospital, which has a separate psychiatric unit. So I phoned my colleague immediately to alert her in terms thereof, and said that obviously a medical certificate will be provided, but beyond that, I also prepared a further affidavit from Dr. Lawrence himself. That was now last night, which I am waiting for at the moment. The contents of the affidavit was canvassed with the doctor, but I'm waiting for it to be signed and commissioned at the Camille Drift police station, where my assistant is currently. I have provided a copy of the letter. It's not a medical certificate, as we know, just to say it's a medical illness. It's a letter, but the affidavit sets out what has been done and what is the position. So I must apologise to the Commission that it is late, but at the moment I got aware of it, and also bearing in mind it was Father's Day yesterday, also for the specialist. I got hold of him and the affidavit was prepared. So I apologise for that delay, but I can confirm that we did everything in our power to have it here as soon as possible.
So her assistant was at the police station, and therefore the assistant could take photos of the affidavit that's made right then when Van Wyk was supposed to be in the chair testify. I think I believe her. Let me hear from you. Do you believe her? But however, that didn't slow Chaskalson down today, because he said, that's fine, I will present all the evidence, and when Van Wyk, comes later in July, then he can just answer a few questions, but you would have seen all the evidence. The part that was so shocking was this.
The starting point is a video that appears at the foot of 377.
Mind matatun fikin sendala wanda wa mina na so one I saw this my one li 970 so yes the total.
That video was sent by Mr. Matlala to Mr. Van Wyk. I should at this stage just record, although I will address it in more detail later, that Mr. Van Wyk disputes receiving this video. But the chats reflect that it was sent from Mr. Matlala to Mr. Van Wyk at 10:25 on the 6th of April. At 10:26, Mr. Matlala sent Mr. Van Wyk a message saying, "Get me a good price." And at 10:31, Mr. Van Wyk replied with a voice note.
We'll go in at 250. We'll go in at 250.
We've listened to it several times. It says, "We'll go in at 250. And then at 10:48, Mr. Van Wyk forwards to Mr. Matlala what appears to be a message sent to him by a third party. "Mike, we're ready to take tomorrow afternoon, as got important engagement in the morning 1. Wednesday we can take 2 again." The third party says, "I'm waiting for him to come back, but he said 350K, it's too much." The fourth party says 300. At 9:25, Mr. Matlala says to the third party, "Okay, I'm also getting good price, so you can make profit." Third party sends a thank you emoji. After Mr. Matlala says to the third party how many bricks you have, he sends the video to Mr. Van Wyk at 10:25. And if we can just play that video again, it's evident throughout the video, but these bricks actually are branded. They say Prestige on them, and they have a crown symbol on them. We asked the SAPS, and we received an information note from Brigadier Allen, who is the section head of chemistry in the SAPS, and that information note appears at page 752. Following the circulation of the images in the video to all the SAPS forensic science laboratories that perform drug analysis, feedback was received that such blocks with the indicated logo or imprint as depicted in the above included image from the video have indeed been received by the forensic science laboratory. In the specific case, 2 evidence-sealing bags with seal numbers, the numbers are given, were received together containing 6 blocks with a total weight of about 6 kilograms, each block weighing approximately 1 kilograms. Our video showed 5 blocks, each showing approximately 1 kilogram. The blocks were tested by Forensic Science Laboratory and have tested positive for cocaine. Of the 6 blocks, 3 blocks had the Prestige imprint as in the video, and the other 3 blocks did not have the same imprint. The following are relevant images of the blocks that were received in the specific case, with the imprint clearly similar to the imprint on the blocks in the video material. Photo 3, one can see the block is now fragmented, but one can see the same crown symbol and the same Prestige imprint on it. And then again, there is, if one goes down to page 757 at photo 6, one sees the crown symbol and the Prestige stamp on it.
Wow, so Van Wyk, who is off because of panic attacks and his psychiatrist has booked him off, in his affidavit denied the message, the video that showed these blocks. But then, because they traced it through other people's phone, Chaskalsin then made a point that it is a technical impossibility and a factual impossibility that Van Wyk never saw that video. So Van Wyk will be coming up at a certain point and he will have to answer to all of this evidence that has been led in his absence. Sure, the Madlanga Commission has just been going from shockaroo to shockaroo. We'll do a video in the future and get deeper into the evidence that has shown up there. I want you to see something about the public's trust in institutions in South Africa. Only 36% of South Africans actually trust government. That's from the Edelman Barometer report of 2025. Now compare that to business. 68% of South Africans actually trust business. In fact, business scores the highest in the trust barometers, followed by NGOs. 63% of South Africans trust NGOs. The majority of South Africans do not trust media. Only 46% of South Africans trust the media. But that excludes us independent media, of course, because we are not controlled by some ideology or paid by someone. Political leaders and political parties, 50 to 80% of South Africans do not trust political leaders and political parties, a majority. So if you look at this up here, you realize that generally South Africans trust non-state institutions far more than they trust government and political bodies. What about the justice system? The Afrobarometer, only 43% of South Africans say they kinda trust courts and judiciary. And it's the first time since 2021 that a majority of people do not trust courts and the judiciary. The police, majority of South Africans do not trust the police. Only 40%, 46% of South Africans say they trust the police. And it's been that low for a long time. I guess the cold drinks do not help. Parliament, very bad. 37% of South Africans say they trust Parliament. And this is a major decline that happened around the time from about the Nkandla time. It's just been dipping and dipping and dipping. The president, the majority of South Africans, according to the Afrobarometer, do not trust the president. Only 46% of South Africans are polled to say, yes, I trust the president. So for the past decade, trust levels in public institutions have been dipping over 10 years by over 10%. What about the IJR Reconciliation Barometer 2025? Only 1 in 3 South Africans felt that the GNU was effective. Now, when the GNU came in, it was highly favored. Reasons of fearfulness, because people were afraid that at least we can trust that to not explode the country into a mess. However, only 1 in 3 felt they're doing a good job, and that's in 2025. And then 8 out of 10 South Africans believe that political leaders cannot be trusted and they don't care about citizens. 80%. And what about local government? Well, only 26% of people think local government is aight. I imagine they're probably in a suburb somewhere. And according to this barometer, majority of South Africans don't trust political parties. 50 to 54% distrust political parties. 82% of South Africans say corruption is getting worse. Some say it's somewhat worse, some say it's getting a lot worse. But just like with business, trust in religious leaders, the army, and traditional leaders is high. It's above 50% in all major surveys. So basically, the majority of South Africans do not trust formal state institutions, but they're not into anarchy, so their trust is placed in business, religious leaders, and wherever they feel their trust won't be betrayed. Well done, ANC. So what does this do? Well, trust is not just about I don't trust you, I don't like you. It actually goes down to rands and cents. The first thing that's affected by trust is capital formation. In other words, investors, local and foreigners, black, Indian, colored and white, need confidence in the rule of law. They need to know their contracts are safe. They need to know that corruption is low, because low trust raises perceived risk and leads to less investment. So if we have low trust in courts, the police, the justice system, guess what? Capital runs, and foreign direct investment just sits outside and says, let's just watch what's going on for a while. What that means is people unemployed, not enough money for safety nets. What that means is no jobs. What that means is life is harder for everybody. So trust goes down to rands and cents and keeps that family in a shack for an extra 5 years. Secondly, it then adds on top is transaction costs become more expensive. Because in a low trust environment, people spend more on lawyers, on security, on due diligence, on monitoring. So people spend too much time looking over their shoulder that they can't look down and work and be more productive. And so as the bribes, the tenders, and all the corruption is happening, it raises the cost of doing business, which lowers the jobs that are available, which lowers the growth of the economy, which keeps that family in the shack for 5 more years than necessary. A low trust environment doesn't do well with innovation, with entrepreneurship, with productivity. Doesn't matter what color the entrepreneur is, low trust environments don't help. But when trust is low, everybody for himself and everyone just tries to protect and defend themselves and their own. The only people who enjoy this are informal economies and illegal and underground economies. And does it affect the government? Absolutely. Tax compliance takes a dip. Can you implement growth-oriented policies? Not without trust. Oh, but we need a social compact. You can't do it without trust. We need a national dialogue. You can't do it when the people who are distrusted the most want to get people to come and say, let's do a give and take discussion. It can't happen without trust, especially not in a country where the people we trust the least spend all of their time blaming the people we trust more for all our problems. The economy is not growing because the capital is not patriotic capital. Business needs to invest. Why are they holding money? Because we don't trust you. Oh no, but business come, let's talk. We have a strategy. Don't trust you. You need trust. You need someone you trust to say, let's talk. And then you can come with social compacts where business, labor, unions, civil society, community, government can all come and negotiate and say give and take. Which brings us back to the Madlanga Commission, because the Madlanga Commission came into those figures of low trust that I showed you, and it's the first time as South Africans that we actually got to watch a public process that made us feel like, oh man, this is possible. This is what we want to see. This is how it's supposed to be working. This is what's supposed to happen. So when Mkhwanazi came out for the first time, a lot of people were knocking it and saying, don't hang your hopes so much on Mkhwanazi. Well, it's the first time that someone stood up and kind of did what we kind of thought, yeah, this is what's supposed to happen. And the follow-up with the Madlanga Commission, seeing all the evidence, well, I'll tell you something, the Madlanga Commission has been a breath of fresh air. For the first time, South Africans watch something and they feel like, I trust the Madlanga Commission. In fact, I can miss it for 5 weeks, but I know whatever's happening there is giving us a better country. A glimmer of hope that, hey, maybe justice is not dead. Justice may be in a hospital bed, but maybe we can revive it. And the Madlanga Commission has a deadline of the 31st of August 2026. Now, I don't know if they'll close on the 21st of August. We have had the Farlam Commission. We have had the Seriti Commission. We have had the Nugent Commission. We have had the Zondo Commission. We've had so many commissions in the country, and many of them more than doubled the initial time that was given. So it would be really weird if the Madlanga Commission does not get yet another extension. I know many people have names in mind that you think of, that you think, but this person hasn't appeared. This person hasn't spoken. This person hasn't answered some questions. So you tell me at the bottom, who do you have in mind that you think, but this person still needs to come to the commission? I need to hear them. So if the Madlanga Commission had to close at the end of August, I doubt that they would have done a proper job. But it would also be a pity, because the Madlanga Commission is like catching a breath after you've been holding your breath underwater for quite a while. I mean, think about it. Madlanga Commission, just during the Madlanga Commission, 12 senior police officers have appeared in court over the 360 million Cat Matlala tender. Brown Mokgotsi has appeared in court for the defeating of the ends of justice. The suspect in the Witness D murder has also appeared in court. Julius Mkhwanazi has appeared for fraud, corruption, defeating the ends of justice. Sergeant Faninkosi, whom we saw testifying just like Julius Mkhwanazi, was also raided, and there's possession of hand grenades and guns and all of that. There's the captain who's the SAPS forensic analyst, and apparently they messed with something, so they get to answer that in court. And so Madlanga is very different from all other commissions, because we're seeing action take place while it's continuing. And you know, one of the things that happens for us as citizens is that when things are going bad, we tend to be quick to speak. And I think we should do it. When things are being done wrong, we must make a noise. It is our country. We must never live in our country as if it's a kingdom that belongs to a certain king, and we are just loyal subjects who must just take whatever we're given. This is our country. South Africa belongs to all who live in it. But you know what's one of the things we don't do is that when things go right, we tend to be quiet. how awesome would it be if many of us got to go out and actually appreciate the good work that we've been watching at the Madlanga Commission? And as you know, I always try and make things easy for you. If you want to do it, if you go up to this link here or in the first comment, you can go across there. How about you copy that letter? You and all other people, we write an open letter to Madlanga. If you're going to Twitter and it's small space, well, maybe you can share the link and just say, this is my letter to Madlanga. And let it trend to say, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you, Baloyi. Thank you, Kumalo. Thank you, evidence leaders. Thank you, Chaskalsin Sillo. Thank you to the Madlanga Commission, because it's for the first time in a long time that we kind of felt like we like this. This feels like us. This makes us feel important, like we have something respectable done in our names, representing us, and we're not ashamed to say Madlanga is our Madlanga. We're not ashamed to say Sillo is our Sillo. We're not ashamed to say Commissioner Baloyi, Commissioner Kumalo, these are our commissioners. How about you go copy that letter, you go post an open letter on your Facebook, on your WhatsApp, on everywhere. Dear Justice Madlanga, copy, paste it, put your name at the bottom, and let's just go out for a day and appreciate something good about our country. How about it? Or I mean, we could just leave it. We'll wait for something wrong to happen there, and then we'll fight. But no, we can recognize it and let's appreciate the glimmer of hope for now, and in the future, we'll fight when we need to. We're not scared. It's our country. You will also be speaking to your own mind, to your own heart, to your own sense of self, saying, you know what, I'm important enough that when someone does something good for my country, in my country, I qualify to get up on social media in my country as a citizen and say, yo, man, thanks, good job. If you've done it, how about then go and send me an email and tell me, check this out. Share your link. I'd love to see it. And maybe what we'll do is on that page where you copy and paste, if you want, you can email me the link and I'll put it there so that it pops up, your open letter pops up. If you don't want to share your link to your Facebook or wherever you've posted it, you don't have to, but email me afterwards and just tell me, man, I posted, thanks, I feel good. I feel like a citizen. I feel like this is my country. I get to write to Madlanga an open letter saying thanks and pass the thanks to everybody else. If enough people do it, who knows? Maybe we'll buy a gold pen, engrave it, and give to all the commissioners and ask them, we'll send it and ask, when they are finished and it doesn't come across as if we're influencing anything, maybe we send it and say, we heard that you finished. Please use our pen to sign the final report. Who knows if enough people do it. But go ahead at the end of this video, after my biblical reaction, click that link. Just go act like a citizen. This is your country. Be nice to the help. Appreciate the people who work for you when they do good work. How about it? Let's see. My biblical reaction. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. That's what we felt with Madlanga as it unfolded. But when a wicked man rules, the people groan. That's how we felt when trust in public institutions was dipping. So, when we see something good, we rejoice. But what you feed grows. So, let's give Madlanga 1,000 open letters all around the country on statuses everywhere. And when people comment, tell them, you can copy my open letter and you go post it to Let's Let Gratitude Trend for the day, right? So let's rejoice. No man can serve two masters. Either you love the one or hate the other, or you'll despise the one and honor the other. You can't serve God and Karl Marx. Let's make history together. Let me hear your thoughts. Are you gonna write? Let's hear.